Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this new data.europa Academy session, Eurostat Regional Yearbook Goes Digital. My name is Beatriz Fernandez Nebreda. I work in the data.europa.eu team at the Publications Office of the European Union, and it is my pleasure to welcome today our colleagues from Eurostat, Bianca Fogrup, Theodora Brandmüller, and Luis Corselli Nordblad. They will be sharing with us today how they transformed a traditional printed publication, Eurostat Regional Yearbook, into a modern interactive tool, therefore making the most of the opportunities presented by digitalization to better serve our user needs. Before we start, let me just remind you of a couple of things. We will record this session, and the recording will be made available on the Academy page later on. And we will have a Q&A after the presentation. So please raise your questions in the chat and we will address them at the end of the session. And with this, Bianca, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you for the introduction and welcome everybody to our webinar today, the Eurostat Regional Yearbook Goes Digital. And in the next 30 minutes, let's see if the slide is moving. It's not. Yes, no. And yes, in the next 30 minutes, we will not try to sell you any honey, but we will show you the, yes, as already said, the transition from a traditional printed publication with a long-standing tradition to a digital publication and modern interactive tool. And what the bee swarms, barcodes and bubbles have to do with this, you will see in a couple of minutes. And yes, I will give a little short background information, so where we started from. And after that, my colleague Theodora Brandmüller will take over to walk you through the different phases of the project. And my colleague Luis Corselli Nordblad will tell you about the developments after the first release and the lessons learned of the project. Maybe I just check that we see faces already. No, it doesn't work. No. So there's Luis, and we have our leading developer Marcos with us. Yes. So we are even in the same room here today. And yes, okay, thank you. So if there are any technical questions in the end, please, we are happy to answer them as well. So where we started from, the regional, Eurostat, we are all working for Eurostat, of course, and Eurostat is the statistical office of the European Union. Our mission is to provide high quality statistics and data on Europe. With the partnership of the National Statistical Institutes, and we have a wide range of topics at European, national, regional and local level. The Regional Yearbook, you can see the edition 2021 from last year. It started in the 1970s and was published as in a similar format in a print and PDF version since more than 20 years now. And it's one of the annual flagship publications of Eurostat with the most downloads in the recent years. And of course, we are already working on the new edition for this year, which is planned to be published in October. There's a wide range of statistical indicators that are covered in the publication, and it's 206 pages. We even have the a little print run of it, so I can even still hold it in my hands. And it's full of detailed analyses, data, and methodological explanations. And regional indicators are shown for EU, EFTA, and candidate countries, and are presented in maps, figures, and infographics, which are supported by descriptive analysis and text to show the regional variations and similarities. But of course, at some point, with changing publication modes and changing user needs, it became necessary to rethink the format of the publication. And this is what the whole webinar is about today. So to show the opportunities and challenges this presented. Here you can already see the outcome of the whole process. It's the website or tool Regions in Europe. It's the version from last year, Interactive Edition 2021, and it gives a part of the content of the big so to say regional yearbook publication, which was transformed into this interactive web tool with maps and graphs. It was first published 2 years ago with updates and changes last year. And of course, this year there will be a new update planned for October. And with this, I will hand over to my colleague Theodora to guide you through the whole process.
Thank you very much, Bianca. Also, good morning from my side. So next slide, please. So how we did it. So actually, we started in January 2020 with an organization of some workshops here in Eurostat, where people from different units participated, and this will be very important. I will come back to that. We used the so-called sprint methodology. And actually, we all agreed that user experience shall be our main focus. However, how to achieve this, that was a more lengthy discussion in the group. So here on the slide, you can see some of the concepts that was we agreed on. And I can tell you personally, I'm a statistician, economist, so I learned a lot of new words in these discussions, like lazy loading, infinity scroll, or scrollytelling. This is what you see on the top. So for those of you who are also new to this word, I can say it practically means that as the user scrolls the page, it loads in the background, and then it's a similar experience like in social media we are used to, so the user doesn't need to click around. So the basic idea was to present a data visual accompanied by short text, and that would fulfill this concept of explore and explain. So we wanted to have the visuals interactive so that users can explore it, but we were very certain that we also need short text to explain a little bit what we would like to show. And how we started was the first thing. We established an indicator list, and we developed very short storylines. What we would like to see what we would like the user to see. So what we would like to show with this indicator. And depending on the focus of the data analysis, we decided whether we would like to show a comparison, a correlation, a proportion, a distribution. So what shall be the focus of the visual? This part was where being a statistician actually helped a little bit with the development. And then we also thought that an easy navigation would be very useful so that a user can jump to the topic that they are interested in. And actually each section of the digital interactive publication is very closely linked to the print publication that Bianca mentioned. So if somebody would like to dig deeper, read an extended analysis, then they are more than welcome to consult the print PDF publication with the more detailed analysis. And of course, graphic design is very important. So we wanted to keep the product very simple and clean. So try to use only a few colors and have a white background for clarity. And of course, Eurostat is a key advocate of evidence-based policy. So we try to do the same. And we have evidence that shows that most of the Eurostat users are consulting our data or products on mobile devices. So this is why it was important that the product that we are developing, interactive publication, it should be adapting itself, so to say, to different screen sizes. So this is why for the responsive design is a key. And also the application also had to be reusable and adaptable, so that the data visualizations that we invest time in to develop can be then also used later on by others or as a standalone applications. And also for this reusability reason, we used mainly open source libraries. So we started, next slide please. Actually not from scratch, but finally with a sketch. So on this workshop, we asked everybody who participated to make a kind of just a little sketch what data visual they have in mind, and to try to put it into a storyboard. And this is what you can see here, a few examples. And then we also had this so-called dot voting. So we asked people to walk around then. We made a little gallery and put the red dots to the visuals they like the most. So next slide, please. So this was one of the sketches that was liked the most. Now you can really see that it's a sketch, so it's nothing elaborated. But then on the right-hand side, you can see how nicely it was implemented by the IT developers. So this is, if I want to be official, it's a proportional symbol map, but actually we call it the bubble map. And so on this map, each bubble is representing one region, and the size of the bubble is showing the absolute value of the indicator. In this case, it's a gross domestic product, but on the publication, you can see on the website also population, for example. And then the color of the circle is showing here the GDP per inhabitant. And with this visual, what you can see actually is that there is a great diversity within countries. And this is also possible to visualize in an interactive way, because you can also choose the geographical detail you would like to see in the interactive publication. So next slide, please. So of course you can choose the national level, the country level, or next slide, please. You can choose the so-called NUTS 1 level. These are the big regions, or you can choose, next slide, please, the NUTS 2 level, which is the more detailed regional level, which is actually the level at which regional development policies are mostly made, and where the European Union is focusing when it comes to regional development. Now, what you can see on this map and how we went through the different geographical levels is that the size of the circles are actually getting similar in size. It means that regions are usually more comparable than if we would compare national level values, like comparing Malta or Luxembourg with Germany or France. It just seems arbitrary for some indicators. And the other, let's say, phenomena you can see here is that some countries, for example, Italy, which was at the national level map in the light blue category. Here, when you go to regional level, actually you see almost all colors except for light blue. So actually we have like 2 or 3 light blue regions, but you have all other colors. It shows that there is a great diversity within a country, which you would not see if you only analyze a certain data at national level. So this is why actually in the whole publication we advocate that regional level data is a key, because it brings statistics closer to citizens. It speaks more to their everyday reality that they see every day than the national averages, which can hide a lot of diversity. And actually in this bubble map, you can even go for more details. And next slide, please, which is here there are more than 1,000 bubbles in this map. So of course you can zoom in the interactive way, and you can check your region by hovering over it. So I invite you all to go to the interactive edition and check it out, and then you can see the exact figures of your region. And another feature of this data visual is that you can hover over not only on the individual bubbles, but you can also hover over of the legend. Next slide, please. So here, for example, I hovered over the highest category, and then only the regions with this highest level of GDP per inhabitant are highlighted. And why is it interesting? Because then you can recognize patterns. For example, that this high level of GDP per inhabitant is characteristics for urban regions. It stands out very clearly. Capital regions stand out very clearly. So it's again a tool to show some kind of possible analysis or phenomena. So this is a little bit how we did with the different visuals and sketches, and also we had some, let's say, editorial guidelines that how we want to proceed. So next slide, please. It was, of course, very important to attract attention of the users, which is not easy nowadays. So we thought, for example, next slide, please. Using movement is one idea. So this is actually a map which turns into a graph and then back. And it's just a fun animation, so to say. And actually it shows population density. And what we are trying to show here is that almost 2/3 of the area shown on the map is very sparsely populated, with a population density less than 1/3 of the EU average. And these are the shades in blue. And on the other hand, you see a small area, less than 10% of the EU, which is actually the home of the majority of the EU population. So where the population density is over 1,000 inhabitants per square kilometer. So it's a playful way to show a little bit this diversity. And here again, it's true that the average population density, which is around 100 inhabitants per square kilometer, is very rare actually in Europe. So it's either more or less, but not so many people experience the average. Next slide, please. So this is, as Bianca said, we already had the bubble. So now this is the so-called barcode map. And here we are showing the unemployment rate, more specifically the youth unemployment rate. And here as well, at the first sight, it just looks like a color pref map. And of course, you can hover over and then to see the different values for the different regions. And there is also a color legend. Now, what makes it special is that we put under it a barcode. So there you can see little lines down there. And actually each line represents again a region. And you can see also the scale. And if you hover over those little bars, then they pop up, or they let's say they lift up, and you see the name of the region, and it pops up on the map. Now, why is this let's say important to, or why we wanted to show this barcode in addition to the color plef map, which is like a more traditional way of showing this indicator, is because what you can see is that, of course, from the map, it's always a question how you assign the classes, where you draw the line, so to say which regions to be shown in orange, for example, the darkest shade of orange. And if you look at the map, it's a kind of balance. We try to have a more or less equal number of regions in the different categories. And then what you see here, that this darkest color shade is it's a wide range, and this would not be so visible if you are only looking at the map. But here, when we put the barcode, you can see that we also have in this orange category, which is the highest rates, regions with 40% of youth unemployment rate, which is already very high, but we also have regions with 70 or 65. So to show, let's say, the diversity within the category. So this barcode map is an excellent way. And also we believe that because it's a bit innovative, that it attracts people's attention. And then another editorial guideline, let's say, that we try to follow, next slide please, is actually very well summarized by Tim Harford, although the book where I got this quotation from was only published in September 2020, so we were already in production when it got published, but I like very much the quote, and this is actually what is, as said, one of our editorial guidelines, is to combine the bird's eye statistical perspective. So here what you see is a satellite image of the area in the Netherlands, and you can see the tulip fields in blossom in April. Next slide, please. So the bird's eye view with the worm's eye view. So from the personal experience. So what you see when you walk around in these tulip fields. So this is how we did it in the data visuals. I can show you on the next slide. So for example, here we had road safety. And here, similarly, we extended the more traditional map, which is road accidents, fatal road accidents, with a timeline. So you can see how actually this indicator evolved, because here our main message was what you can see, and this is how the text actually relates to the visual. So here you can see both, is that during the last decade, the incidence of road fatalities fell in over 90% of the EU regions. So what you can see on the map is actually the actual number as of 2019. But on the timeline, you can see how it changed. And then as you can see in the text, you have links. If you would click onto that, then on the map, this region would pop up and the little timeline graph would change. So for the sake of easier showing it in the next slide, now I zoomed into 3 of these timelines. So on the publication, you see these timelines under the map, so not like this here. And I just wanted to show you here 3 very different examples, and this is the stories we tell a little bit in the text. So how different this indicator evolved in the different regions. So you have regions like Vienna in Austria, the capital region, which has been always the lowest also within the country, but it's also one of the lowest within the European Union. So you can see it was rather stable in the past decade. But then you have also regions which is actually very close to Luxembourg, so the province of Luxembourg in Belgium, which you can see it's still the highest in Belgium, and also it remains to be the highest. So somehow seems to be not much improvement is happening in this region when it comes to road fatalities. But there are also regions which have a very positive message to tell. And here you can see the example of a Greek region where the road fatalities, as you could see, dropped from 240 to close to to less than 100 in this decade. So by choosing different regions, you see a different picture, so to say. And this is why I say that we try to combine this bird's eye view, so the overall, which is the map, with the local, what's happening exactly at the local level, at the regional level. So and then finally, the third editorial guideline, let's say, that we try to follow, and next slide, please, is to again try to enhance the user experience and show them how if you are curious enough, you can find some very interesting data or information in the Eurostat website and in this publication in particular. So now just one example I would like to show you. Next slide, please. Is a demographic change, which is of course something that there has been a lot of talk about it. So this is again a visual from the publication as a distribution plot. where you can also animate over time. So you can see down there. But now what I would like to show you is like the story of two regions, and one in Bulgaria and one in Switzerland, which seem to be rather similar in this particular indicator, which is the median age of population. They both have the highest value within their country, but also within the EU, they stand out with the high rates. So median age of population close to 49 in the case of Bulgaria, or close to 47 in the case of the Swiss region. But what we try to tell in this publication is a story. So what's the story behind this? And if you go to the next slide, then we have the honey, so to say, the so-called bee swarm plot. These are also one of my favorites in the publication. And here, let's say every small dot is again a region, and you can also hover over and then to see the name of the region, or what you cannot see on this screenshot, but you can also select a country or a region. There are drop-down menus so that you can see a certain pattern. So what I did here, I selected then these two regions that seemed very similar on the distribution plot. And now, just for the sake of clarity, I put them down here, the exact values. But you can see that behind the very similar median age, there are very different life expectancies. So for the Swiss region, they are on the top on the left-hand side in terms of life expectancy, but you can see almost standing out, and it's even a growing trend. And what you can see that's the little yellow dot on the top of the bee swarms. And what you can see that for the Bulgaria region is actually characterized with a very low life expectancy. And this is what, let's say, leads to a very high median age. So there could be very much difference between what's behind a certain figure. And then to dig a little bit deeper, we also have a visual on the main causes of death. And here again, what you can see very well on these bee swarms, even without knowing the different regions, is that by cancer or diseases of the respiratory system, you can see that the dots are very close together. There is not much regional diversity in this specific indicator. However, when it comes to the diseases of the circulatory system, you can see how much they spread. And that really gives the message that there is a lot of regional diversity in this indicator. And again, what you can see is that the Bulgarian region is on the top with the highest rate, and while the Swiss region is in the bottom in this. So this was just a bit of an example how you can go beyond a little bit, show what's behind a certain result or a certain indicator. So in summary, next slide. After showing you the bee swarm, the bubbles, and the barcode, I just would like to say that it's really, as I said, in these workshops, it was a very diverse team. You can see here the team members. So we really needed all different skills to put it all together. And I'm very thankful for the whole team to making it happen. So we needed data journalists who can make this story very short. You could see it's almost the size of an SMS or a tweet you can put there to make it, and also then the graphic design and the IT colleagues were really exceptional who helped us. So one slide is dedicated, the next one to the technical development. If you have any questions, I'm sure Marcos can answer it, not so much me. And with that, I would like to hand over then to Luis.
Thank you very much, Theodora. What I'm going to talk about now, what has happened since the first edition in 2020, and a little bit about the lessons learned. So First of all, after the first edition, we did a user testing, and based on those results, we did some changes in the next edition, in the 2021 edition. The main changes we did was that we enhanced the navigation a bit. First of all, one of the recommendations from the user testing was to change the URL on top in order to show the chapter where the user is situated, in order to find the way, in a better way for the user, and that we did. And we also included some more mouse over to improve visibility and clarity. We also changed the embed and share functions. In the first edition, we had an embed and share function up on the top, in the top right corner, if I remember right. And there we changed, and we had the share function by each chapter. So if someone wanted to share a chapter, it was very easily done just for that chapter. And then we had the embed by each visualization, meaning that if someone wanted to embed one visualization in an article or on a website or somewhere, it was easily done through the embed code. We also improved a little bit the search facilities for the maps, because before it was not possible to select a region. You could just hover over, but if you were interested in a specific region, you could now just put it in the search field and it would pop up on the map. There was also a pandemic, and that meant that we had to change one indicator, the main causes of death, that Theodora just changed. The reference here was 2016, meaning that in the 2021 edition it would have been 2017, and we cannot show causes of death where the COVID was not included. So we removed that indicator simply, and we replaced it by weekly deaths, as we call it. And here you can see the map. A little bit the same kind of map as the one Theodora just showed for the road fatalities. You can see the result in the map itself, and then you can see the trend just below. And for the 2022 edition, which will be available in October, as we mentioned, you will get a little sneak preview. This is all depending on the reference years. I mean, in the 2021 edition, we had 2019 data available for life expectancy. We did not show any COVID effect, and that showed a trend that life expectancy was increasing steadily in all regions, more or less. However, we added 2020 in the B swarm, as you can see here. And then just at the glance, you can see for 2020 that most, or I would say almost all of the regions, the little B plots you can see here, they have that life expectancy has decreased. So what were the lessons learned? I don't think we were alone in feeling frustration in April 2020 due to the COVID lockdown. We started this project, as Bianca and Theodora have mentioned, in January, full of enthusiasm. Oh, let's do this. And we had regular meetings, physical meetings, of course. And we were really starting and thinking this will go well and we will be able to publish in October. And we were very positive and motivated. Then COVID came, and we could not meet anymore in the office, and we were really a bit shocked, and we said, no, the whole project is going to fall into pieces. This did not happen, as you can see, the result, but we had to change our way of working drastically and do, like everyone else, everything online, a lot of email exchange, and it was much more cumbersome, I would say, than to sit in the same room and look at the screens together, but we managed it. The choice of indicators, I mean, for regional data, we have loads of indicators, a lot of interesting indicators, but we had to be severe. So we choose from the PDF paper version of the regional yearbook only those which we thought were most pertinent for this interactive tool. And sometimes there were discussions, should we not show this, should we not show that? But in the end, we made quite a strict choice, and this is the result you can see now. Then we have the text, the editing of text. And there it's very important that the text should be short and sharp and clear. We should try to avoid statistical jargon as much as possible, but at the same time, we need it to remain accurate. So that is always a balance. And we also try to talk directly to the user, tell them, look at this visualization. You see this result. Which region do you think is the highest? A text like that. I think we managed in our text, with our text, because at the end of 2021, we got the Clear Writing Award of the European Commission and got this little award, as you can see there, a glass award. And we were, I must say, very proud of this. And what Commissar Hahn said, statisticians can often be criticized for presenting dry and technical subjects, but I'm glad to announce that this is not the case for Eurostat. So we were very happy for this. What else went well? The publication was very well received. You can see here for the 2020 edition and the 2021 edition, we got almost, in total, almost 500,000 visits, which is quite a lot. And also what went very well, as Theodora already mentioned, was the very good cooperation between the different kinds of profiles we had in the multidisciplinary team. The combination of developers, dissemination, communication people like me, designers and statisticians like Bianca and Theodora, and developers like Marcus, who will answer questions later on. Would you like to find out more? Here in this slide, you can see a lot of different links, which we invite you to click on if you have the slides. And there's a lot of more information which you can find there. You can also follow Eurostat on social media. Here you have some examples of tweets, of Facebook posts, and of posts on Instagram. These are the 3 social media channels that we have. And we are very much present there. And the ones on the regional yearbook were highly retweeted and highly visited on Facebook. And last but not least, here you have the link to the interactive publication, which we now have been talking about for more than half an hour. We strongly invite you to go and have a look by yourself, play around with the visuals, read the texts and search for the regions and look at the regions you're interested in, the region where you live or the neighboring regions. This is it from our side, from my side, and now I would like to give the word back to Beatrice for questions. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening.
Thank you very much, Louise, Theodora and Bianca, and congratulations on that award. Very well deserved. It's amazing work you've done in Eurostat. Now with the chat, I see that Marcus has been answering some questions. Let me see if something else came in. Incredible visits increase, very interesting, thank you. So the feedback, congratulations from the colleagues, it's impressive. So for the time being, no questions. While these come in, I'm thinking of one myself. You were mentioning in the interactive edition, there were some changes in the 2021 edition. How often does the data change? Does it change real time or on a monthly basis, depending on the series, or how often is the interactive version updated?
Shall I answer that? Yeah. So what we do is that what we say, we freeze the data at a certain year. So the only changes that could happen is if there are revisions of the data. And that is something which is very, very important, not only for this interactive publication, but for all interactive publications, is that the text and the visualization, the data you see in the visualization, that they follow each other. So if we have a reference year of 2020 in a visualization and all of a sudden it changes to 2021, then of course the text will not follow. So that is done by our developers. They freeze it at a certain reference year, and that when we then do the next edition, then we, in layman words, we would say we unfreeze the data and put in the next reference year and adapt the text accordingly.
Right. Thank you very much, Louise.
You're welcome, Beatrice.
Again, from another participant, congratulations to this great work. There is a question from Glenn. Sorry, maybe I missed it, but are you able to track the performance of interactive options? The number of times annotations are pulled out, for example?
Yeah.
Maybe for Marcus?
We will let Marcus answer this. I will.
Marcus, you are invited to answer.
Hello. Yeah, we have not fine-grained data, for example, on which if some people click on a region name or something like that, but we do have data like how much time is spent and which visuals are loaded more. Obviously, the last ones could be visited a bit less. Also, if something is served, we can see that some visualizations could be shared more or not, because you will see that each chapter and each visualization has a sharing button which is customized to the specific visualizations. So you can, for example, embed one of the visualizations in your own site. So we can go into our statistics, our analytics, and see if some visual is more has been used more than others. And since I also see another question about the underlying data, under each visualization there is a link to the source, which links to the Eurostat database, and there you have the full data set. And you can also see previous years or something like that. Yeah, that answered.
Thank you, Marcus. So as you see there on the screen, and while maybe more questions come up, this is the QR code for the feedback questionnaire. It only takes 2 minutes maximum, and it could greatly help us to improve the quality of these sessions and also to choose further topics. So please let us know your thoughts. We will also put the link to the form in the chat. And I'm not seeing any new questions coming up. Then I take this opportunity, if you allow, for a second question. We have seen the great increase in usage and in clicks. Do you have any qualitative feedback from the users? Because this has been a major change from the traditional form to an interactive. Do you have any direct qualitative feedback from users or from some user groups?
User testing? Yeah, user testing. Do you want to say it? Yeah. Yes. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, we did a user testing after the first edition, and the outcome was very positive because we did very few changes. I mean, the ones I mentioned were most of the ones we did. I think, and in the future, this is something we are working on for other interactive publications, and I think we should also include it in this one. It's a feedback button, so people can give immediate feedback to what they are seeing. So this is a line where we are going more and more towards to get more and more feedback. Does this answer your question, Beatrice?
Yes, thank you very much, Louise. Thank you. I don't see any further question coming up. So with this, I would like to thank you once again for your for this session, for the great work, and wish you all a very nice day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.